Hi there. Yeah, I'm that guy that sent the letter to the governor. I'm the disgruntled former employee. So I'd probably like to set the record straight, as I realized a lot of people just don't like to read. So I submitted some letters to the governor. It's been pushed on the media. And I can only look at this in one way. My style is to put it out there. But I got to be me. So I'm probably going to joke a little, feeble attempt, and send out this message here and read basically the letters that I sent. And I'll put some stuff in there. Now, I know you're looking at me and saying, who's this quack here? Well, I'll tell you about myself shortly. So I know I look like a fat Chuck Norris, and I earned that name working in sheriff's offices, Chunk Norris, but I wasn't always the svelte. I was once a barrel-chested freedom fighter. That's for my Marine buddies. Anyway, yeah, I'm a little old and gray and beat up, but I'm here for getting this message across. Is not about me. It's about seeing something wrongdoing, and all this kind of fell in my lap. So I had the opportunity to be a spokesperson, so I will, and I will provide you a lot of information, and you can do with it what you want and interject your own opinions. That being said, the bulk of this information, it didn't come from me. It comes from files obtained from court records and everything else that I'm referring to. All of it's discoverable, all of it's obtainable, even through current court cases. And a lot of this information was given out by the sheriff himself. But since Chad wants to, be Chad, I'm not as good looking as him. I know, this is my, believe it or not, no face work here. This is what you get. These are my real eyebrows. But as like he says, I struggle a little bit. I got my glasses here. Oh, and they're broken. These are my dollar store readers. I break a lot of things, clearly. Break glasses, break a few hearts. Very good at breaking windshields, as we'll talk about. Either way, I do have to put them on because, as Chad says, I'm a struggling ex-employee, whatever he calls me. But we'll get into all that. And yeah, I do struggle a little bit to get out of bed. I'm a little arthritic and beat up. I had a pretty hard life, and I still work very hard. And I didn't get fired from the sheriff's office. I didn't resign under any bad things. It was all a choice, and I had a choice, fortunately. And I don't need my retirement check. As a matter of fact, I haven't even cashed in on it yet, and I'll show you that. I struggle to get out of bed. Sometimes I struggle to make it to the, on time at this age. But regardless, this isn't about me. This is about the information that I'm providing. And it's about representing taxpayers. This is about representing misgivings or misdoings that have occurred. And I just happen to have a little bit of a larger insight, an educated background in this. And so I'm going to provide you what I wrote and let you all decide. I don't give a crap what people have to say about me. Again, it isn't about me. But because Chad wanted to have a little pee-pee measuring contest and his ego is a little fragile, we'll make sure we get into that. And again, I'll let you decide. So, I'm not very good at this. I've been on TV a few times on the job. Pretty simple guy. Kind of an idiot. I'm not gonna lie. This is me. So I got to put my broken glasses on to read this. Honorable Governor Ron DeSantis. Some love him, some don't. Either nonetheless, I come to you as a veteran. Sorry, already starting out bad. Retired law enforcement detective with Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, a private business owner, community and school volunteer, and a proud supporter of the office of governor. more importantly, I come to you as a nonpartisan voice for the citizens of Hillsborough County. You can be with me, you don't have to be, but this is nonpartisan. I am not making this Republican, Democrat. I'll put that out there, full transparency. I am a Republican. Chad allegedly is a Republican. Has zero to do with that. Matter of fact, during the past election, as you know, it's probably why Chad doesn't like me, I pushed for an independent black candidate for sheriff. And we'll get into why, as Chad says, the timing suspicious later. But here's the letter. A longtime resident and taxpayer who's deeply concerned for the integrity and safety of our county's primary law enforcement agency, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Attached is a factual, discover, and credible synopsis supported by statements that can be obtained through subpoena or interrogatory. Time is of the essence as we, the people, demand the immediate suspension and termination or resignation of Sheriff Chad Chronister, Under Sheriff Tommy St. John, and any members of the HSO command staff found to have participated in concealed acts of cheating on promotional exam, misuse of public funds, or fraudulent acquisition of accreditations, certificates, or degrees for personal or professional advancement. Additionally, personnel involved in the misuse of taxpayer-provided resources, including vehicles, buildings, or agency staff for political or personal gain, must be held accountable. This information has been ignored and hidden from the public far too long. Deputies, former employees, and private citizens have feared speaking up. I am not one of them. I am not afraid to stand up and lead this effort on behalf of those who cannot. I can already anticipate the assumption, likely encouraged, and now we've seen by Sheriff Chronister, his allies, or others, that I am simply a disgruntled former employee. But I think my biography, testimony, and evidence I provide will show otherwise. Any suggestions that I am motivated by resentment is not only untrue, but irrelevant to the matter at hand, the integrity of a law enforcement agency sworn to serve the public. That said, I partially accept the label disgruntled. Matter of fact, I fully accept it. And again, I'll explain why. Yeah, I'm disgruntled, former employee, in regards to actions that occurred, that are still occurring, and who caused these actions, and who the victims were. Like I said, I got to be lighthearted in this. I got to be a little bit of joker, because there's some bad stuff in here that's happened to people. And I will get a little, my eyes might sweat a little bit when I'm talking about it. So it's important that I really wish people would take the time to read this and just don't worry about the messenger. I know you got to look at my ugly face here for a little bit, but it's about the message, okay? I have nothing to gain from this except getting this information out here. I don't hate Chad. I dislike his leadership style. Am I happy with how he's responded to this? Absolutely not. Do I think he should be removed as a sheriff? Absolutely, especially what he did yesterday in response to me. And we'll get into that in a whole nother video. And I think people will agree. After nearly 3 decades of service to my country and my community, I believe I've earned the right to be disgruntled. I'm not just a retired detective. I'm a taxpayer, a father, and a citizen with unique insider's perspective. I possess knowledge and insight that ordinary citizens and even other agencies may not. I'm transparent about my record. I've faced internal investigations of discipline, and I acknowledge them openly. But I also stand proudly on my professional accomplishments, commendations, and reputation among peers. In law enforcement, character is the first target of retaliation, and few understands this better than I do. Yet my record of service, both military and civilian, speaks for itself. I served honorably, acted with integrity, and consistently placed the safety of my community above personal gain. You, Governor, know better than most what it means to serve in a paramilitary organization. You understand defense of one's character must come through truth and transparency. My record in both uniform and plain clothes demonstrates the highest standards of dependability, security clearance, and professional conduct. I ask, if I were untrustworthy, which is implied, when did I supposedly change? Was it after my military service? After years of decorated police work, or only now when I raised my voice in opposition? This is not about me. This is about accountability, transparency, and justice. My background is irrelevant compared to the pattern of corruption, misuse of authority, and lack of accountability under Sheriff Chronister's leadership. I am merely the messenger of information I believe your office, the Attorney General, possibly the Federal Bureau of Investigation may not yet fully know. I respectfully request that you direct the Attorney General to conduct an immediate and comprehensive investigation into Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and to consider criminal prosecution of any individuals found to have abused their positions, defrauded the public, or violated their oaths of office. For the record, I resigned from HCSO in May 2018. I was not fired, forced to resign, or an investigation. I remain technically retired, but not yet collected any Florida retirement system pension benefits. I don't need them right now. I got 2 years if I want to keep them in there or not. People are familiar with the green separation. I got it on my webpage, and I'm in the FRS. So Chad gave me credentials when I left for Leosa, and so if I was fired on investigation, I wouldn't have all that. Now, that's part of the problem, though. People that resigned under investigation, as we've seen currently with these $150,000, $160,000 paying positions, are going to collect that on your back, and they obtain that fraudulently, and they're skipping out on these investigations. My decision to resign stemmed from the need to recover from multiple injuries sustained in the line of duty. And buddy, I broke a lot of bones. Broke these fingers, broke that hand on the mounting unit, refractured my hip. I broke my cheekbone. We'll talk about that. Tore my knees diving, and I came in out of the military on a medical separation. Look, I was a lunatic out there as a hard-charging cop. I ain't going to deny it. I'm running through fences, jumping over stuff. I've always been active. I've been in combat sports. I've been in just craziness. I was a rescue diver. This stuff that happens to your body just diving, my divers will know, especially my military divers and especially my cop divers. That stuff beats you to death. But I was still out there with no complaints and didn't turn any of these injuries, didn't want to acknowledge injuries. I kept going. The number one goal of mine was to get the bad guy. It wasn't about anything else. It wasn't about my ego, accolades. I never sought that. I sought to be out there being a cop, doing what's right for my community. And I've proven that over and over again, and you'll see that in this letter. But let's see what you got to prove, Chad, other than what your video editors have made. Since then, I've been fortunate to receive treatment as a disabled veteran through the Department of Veterans Affairs. With the support of my family, community, and faith, I've remained my health and peace of mind combined. And it is from that place of strength, not bitterness, that I speak to you now as both a veteran and a citizen seeking justice and accountability for the people of Hillsborough County. Now, I'm going to reemphasize the veteran status because I find that extremely important because of what I'll get into here and Governor DeSantis' background and Lieutenant Governor Collins' background and people that know me. Now, I'm an Air Force guy. I'm waiting. Trust me, I know I'm going to get my Air Force guys. I think if you know me, I was not one of those guys. Been through a lot of your schools, worked jointly with some of the finest men and women in all the branches, especially just absolute warriors. And it's a proud accomplishment. So for somebody to, especially a civilian that didn't serve in the military, to kind of crap on my background is pretty disgraceful, and it's hurtful. And it's hurtful to my family. It's hurtful to my brother service members, even the ones that are still serving at the sheriff's office. And that in itself, man, pick the people you're going to go after, Chad. I should be the one you're going after. You should be worried about your internal house here. So I'm 53 years old. I proudly call Hillsborough County, Florida home since 1995. I'm a United States Air Force veteran, having served as a security forces journeyman and instructor. I was medically separated the rank of Staff Sergeant in 2002. I'm a veteran of Operation Desert Storm, Operation Southern Watch, and Operation Enduring Freedom. The global war on terrorism. Throughout my military career, I was trusted with duties requiring the highest level of security clearance, integrity, and reliability. Standards I carried in my civilian law enforcement career. During my service, I served in various elite and high security roles, including assignments to U.S. Special Operations Command, U.S. SOCOM, which is right here in our backyard, U.S. Special Operations Command, U.S. SOC CENT, where I provided dignitary protection, at times deployment security, and weapons training for senior command personnel. I also served as a Phoenix Raven, remember 202 for life right here from my Ravens, conducting missions in hostile and austere environments worldwide. I was handpicked for presidential security duty on President Clinton's farewell debacle to Africa, as it's called. And I've been in quite a few other places I can't really mention on here. That's not important. It's where I worked at the time. My military training includes graduation from the U.S. Army Light Fighter School. That's the 10th Mountain Division. Got deployed with those guys. Shout out to them. After 9/11, those guys, man, are just beasts. All those Army infantry guys that like that. Rip it. That's grunt fuel there, I've learned. They didn't have that back when, but good for those guys. Love the Army. I was graduate Mountaineering Repelling School, multiple NCO leadership. My awards include Kuwait Liberation Medal, Joint Meritorious Service Medal, Southwest Asia, multiple device, Air Force Commendation, multiple devices, good conduct, and achievement medals. That stuff ain't important. Look, I had a great career, unblemished. I was promoted early, and I was picked to be put in some pretty cool spots. That's my I love me wall behind me, and there's some more over there. That's what us military guys do. And it's about pride. It's about integrity. It's about making my parents, my dad, rest his soul, a Navy veteran. All my uncles, my dad being youngest of 14, all served in all branches from Iwo Jima, cousins in Vietnam. We're still serving. That's how we were. We weren't born with money. We're very fortunate to earn what we had. But, you know, I did all stuff for my daughter, everybody else. And not one time did I seek any kind of extra compensation. Because let's face it, military got paid like crap. Now I'm getting a little residual payback because all my bones are broken. I walk with a leg brace every day, but that's all right. During my years at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, I earned both my bachelor's degree and master's degree in criminal justice with a specialization in critical incident management. I did a little bit of counterterrorism studies. Pursued my degrees while serving full-time at the Sheriff's Office. Now, I did my work, coursework, especially my master's degree, all by my lonesome, no help. I was fortunate to have that paid for by my post 9/11 GI Bill. In my personal life, I'm known as a successful real estate investment company in Hillsborough County, offering discounted rental housing to veterans, first responders, and teachers. I also own an equestrian boarding and training facility that provides supportive environment veterans for first responders dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and family challenges. Now, I'm not a non-for-profit. I've been offered that. I would like to come one day. We're just a quiet, private place for especially cops, because they can't get away and actually be acknowledged to have some of these issues, or they'll be pretty much rubber gunned. Some people know what that means. And it's a difficult spot for even the sheriff's office and the sheriff to administrate there. It's a hard place. Like, what do you do with some of these guys that are in such a bad situation? Now, I offered some suggestions, and those were shot down. But nonetheless, this, again, isn't about me. It's about what's happened at the sheriff's office. So, but I think it's important that I have to put out my character because I got the sheriff and now my quack of a neighbor doubling down on this stuff, and it's almost comical. So that's why I'm a little lighthearted about this, because it's going to get into some pretty crappy stuff. I'm the owner of this equestrian. Like I said, I'm an active member of several organizations, including the VFW, American Legion, AMVETS, Moots Lodge, and Elks. I'm a donor to the Wounded Warrior Project and multiple suicide prevention organizations. I've also served as a volunteer assistant lacrosse coach and referee at Steinbrenner High School. Go Warriors! We're a badass lacrosse team. And as a board director of the Keystone Civic Association, advocating for wetland preservation and responsible growth in Keystone, Odessa. That will come up later. And it's very important because I was a volunteer for that reason, received nothing monetarily, but with the simple want to be on a body that could communicate with the Hillsborough County Commissioners. And boy, did I learn a lot about Hillsborough County. and money and where it goes. It's pretty awful. So I'm going to talk about my law enforcement career, and we're going to go into these corrupt things and these awful things that I did. I'll easily go into in detail. And those that were there that surround me at the time that know it all and what happened, know it all and what happened. It's just how the law enforcement body operates, and you learn from some things, and then you get pretty much crushed by some things. So my law enforcement began after severing active duty. I joined the sheriff's office, where I served in specialized assignments that required skill, discretion, courage, my full transparent investigations in IA. I was subject of 3 internal affair investigation regarding my integrity during my career. I was in a couple other as witnesses, and then I should state, I forgot. I was brought down and told I cussed at a guy. When I got down there, the IA guy goes, "Oh, wait a minute, you're not black." I was like, "No, I'm not black." So the guy that was making a complaint clearly made a mistake. Anyway, and I had a few crashes, and I was at fault in a few of them. And unfortunately, sheriff's office pays. You lose your car, weren't intentional, but I was in some big bang ups chasing dudes. And I was notorious for chasing and running a gun, and I was the guy at the last minute. Everyone's got off shift. There's JT, nickname 1046. Running till the wheels fell off. But we caught some bad people. I put some bad people in prison for armed robberies. I was injured twice in these pursuits. But, part of the job. So that mindset of mine kind of goes into when I was a younger deputy. We had a deputy killed in line of duty, David Abella, in a car crash. That affects you immediately through the whole county. It just tears you to pieces. And you're pretty emotional. And then I'm out on a arrest, and I have a ride-along dispatcher, and I have a 1015 arrestee in the back. She's all coked up, arrested for cocaine. So we had an alert on a guy that had taken a trailer and smashed into a highway patrol officer the night before on Del Mabry Highway and basically tried to kill him. Deputy Gurney, his own part of mine, sees a guy kind of in this truck, this box truck, matching the description. So he pulls him over, and he goes to step out. He puts one foot on the ground, and the guy throws in reverse. And thank God his weight wasn't on his left foot. He was able to retreat inside the vehicle, and the guy smashes into him. His intent was to just either kill him or seriously maim him, but to get away. And Jeff's car was disabled. Now we have a corporal on the radio that we all thought was pretty incompetent anyway, and monitoring, but we also had a lieutenant and a sergeant working that night. Now the lieutenant is the shift commander, and 2 sergeants actually. So this was a time when pursuits were getting kind of, scrutinized. However, an incident like this, you should chase them till the wheels fall off. And every cop will agree with me, and most citizens will agree. Especially when they're on clear roads in the middle of the night, like the highway. It's the perfect area for us to do pit maneuvers, blockades, whatever. So this deputy, he sounded a little afraid on the radio, and you have to consider that. But he starts chasing this guy, and this corporal apparently is on scene and hears pursuit. He's not paying attention, according to the deputy who's with him. And he just says, terminate. Doesn't know what the charges are or the conditions. So the lieutenant and sergeant now can't override him by policy. They're like, supervisor's terminated. I mean, they could have, but it would cost them probably. So we're like, what in the fuck? You kidding me? This guy just tried to kill a cop the night before, kill one of our guys. And this is 2 districts. Listen to this. Dispatcher, everybody's like, what in the hell? So this guy gets away. Now, the next day, same guy gets pursued by Pinellas County, rams the deputy's car. The deputy's car is hung up in the trailer. He's got to lean out the window and shoot the son of a bitch to stop him. And that guy gets like 60 years, something like that. It's in the paper. It's attached to some other documents. Now, me being me, I'm in a fleet car, by the way, because our cars back then were busted. And I was in a Taurus, go figure. Long story short, I lose my shit. It's emotional. I slam my radio down, hits the dashboard, cracks it. I'm so stupid. Bam, hit it again. So I go to turn my affidavit into this sergeant, and we were very, very close friends. I was her guy, me and a couple dudes, and the guys I was with are all now ranking command guys, and they're the best. One of them I'm recommending should be the sheriff. I always thought that, and that's Craig Timko. Now, one of them was he was a old guard Marine, honor guard. The other one I think was Jimmy Giovanco, battalion 75th battalion Ranger SWAT guy. You know, Rangers lead the way. Mark, I won't say his last name, but he was one of my fellow divers. We had a great squad. We're loved. Now, I get pissed off, dude. So I go to the sergeant, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? This idiot called to pursuit. I know. And I was like, oh, yeah. She goes, what's wrong? I broke my goddamn windshield. All right, go get it fixed. The fleet car, just got to make sure it gets fixed. So, you know, that happens. And we go back to work, and everybody's pretty pissed off. But there was a forum at the time called LEO Affairs, and people are ripping this corporal to pieces. Now, I'm not saying I know who wrote it. It's not important. You can do that on your off time. Is it the best thing to do? Probably not. And they've written all kinds of stupid shit about me too. And I'm sure Chad's behind that. But anyway, we go on and we get a roll call going. And she's like, I want to know about that shit. Gets all pissy pants. And I said, I don't know who wrote it, but I fucking agree with it. I said, he's incompetent. And that was the bad thing to say. Because I come in the next day or a couple days later, and you get this little white envelope that says confidential. A lot of you guys know, if you're not a good cop, I don't give a shit. You ain't sat on the hot seat in IA or through an investigation. You ain't doing police work. That's just, it's the nature of the beast. Now, all of a sudden, I'm facing untruthfulness to a supervisor and intentional damage to a vehicle. Now, it wasn't intentional. I clearly said I was pissed off, but I did damage it. There's no denying I damaged it. I had somebody sitting next to me and somebody in the back. But here's where it gets a little convoluted, where the sergeant says, I didn't tell her I did this. Well, how the fuck could I not tell her when I sit in? She tells me to drive it. There's no cover. Now, she wanted to be that way. But look, I learned something real fast. What do you do? So I'm taking advice, and I'm pretty young on the job here. I'm taking advice from those people. I get a PBA lawyer. He's like, look, man, you know, a fight this could be really bad. They could fire you for this. This is a bad mark on your credibility. So he goes, you'll get past it. So I listen to his advice, and in the end, I get I think a 15-day unpaid suspension. Got to pay for the windshield, and now it sticks with me. Now it's untruthfulness to a supervisor, not a citizen, not involved in a case, and it's a he said, she said. But you know what? You can make your opinion about this. And I say that, make your opinion because of my career I just explained to you, and then what happens next in the next few years with my career. So I ask, I'm like, you know, I'm pretty pissed off at now, like these guys would do this to me. I thought I was their boy. And I'm gonna tell you something. One of the supervisors involved later on, I think him and I are pretty good friends now, and I don't know if he's with me on that or not, but he knows the caliber of guy I am too. And I think he supports everything I'm doing here without a doubt. So a couple weeks go by and I say, look, I gotta get off this squad. I could just feel something out. I need to better myself. I'm like, I feel like shit, you know, I need to move on. And I asked to get off this squad and I'm told no. I don't really understand why. So then a day goes and I'm still a diver now. I'm a rescue diver and a recovery diver. And we get a call to go pull we call a floater. Divers know what that is, and EMS knows what that is. And we go pull this Mexican dude out of this pond on each side of the county. And he's out there floating near some gators. Look, he's dead. He's dead. You know he's dead, right? It's obvious death. Now, at this point in my career, I've seen a lot of dead son of bitches. In the military, I've seen some dead son of bitches. This is just absolutely insane that I don't know what a dead person looks like, especially with my medical training and my police training. And when someone's dead, obviously, for a period of time, it's pretty recognizable. So we go pluck this dude out of the water. Now I'm sleepy head, but I go to work and I do my thing, and a call comes out, and it's a guy that says, I just murdered my wife. Took a bunch of pills. I'm going to kill myself. And it comes up on the screen that he's a retired corporal from the sheriff's office named Corporal Frank Patch. Now, you're like, good Lord, this is one of our own guys. What's he want us to do? Holy crap, do we got to confront this guy? How do we do this? I don't want to injure another deputy. I don't want to shoot anybody, but what the hell? So we get there, and I am originally the senior guy, and I realized that I had probably the most training experience. I'm like, everybody stop. He's standing right there. Let's get on the radio. You know, obviously, we don't know if this lady's inside just shot, so we make a choice. We can't wait for SWAT. We got to go clear this place. So we kind of stack up and get up to this guy, and I talked to him for a minute. He's kind of out of it, but he has the gun, and I said, dude, just can you put it on the car and talk to us? And he did. He complied. I got him, put it down. And he goes, I took all these pills. So we cuff him up, and I take a few deputies, and we start clearing this house. And we're looking, you know, you don't know what to expect, if there's multiple victims or what. So we go in there, and we come across a victim. And I got to get graphic here, and this is where it gets serious. She's blasted up. I mean, face like bloop, caved in. Been dead a while, got froth, riggy, her hands like this, you know, she's dead. Now, she's been on some type of treatment for some time, and I mean, the blood's dried, and she's unfortunately on oxygen. So she's got a tube underneath her, couple from the oxygen are wrapped around her, and this dude shot her, and I hear hissing noise, and I look up, I'm like, is this oxygen tank leaking? Now, EMS is showing up on scene, but we ain't let them in yet. This is where this gets fuzzy. And I see a lamp broken next to this table. I'm going, well, shit. We got a broken lamp, and we got oxygen spewing out. Well, I don't need to tell, well, I probably need to tell some of you dummies, that's a good way to get blown the fuck up, or a fire hazard. So I don't know how to turn this son of a bitch off. So what do? I get, hey, can we get the fire chief or whoever guy come in here, see if you can turn this shit off, but keep everybody else outside. This is a crime scene. She's obviously dead. Nobody needs to come in and touch this lady. Nobody needs to touch anything. So we hold them back. Now that's where it gets all convoluted. So go home and, well, I didn't even get to go home. I got to transport this dude, and I'm probably on like 22 hours straight now. I got to transport this dude with bags on his hand for a gunshot to the hospital. He's jacked up on pills, get relief. And now, mind you, this is where it's important. While I'm on scene and doing that, the corporal shows up, obviously, being a corporal. Now, this guy came from a latent investigation back. I think he worked homicides at one time. I'm not sure, or violent crimes. But he's a detective. I'm not. But he knows, and he's a supervisor. So the rest of the firefighters that come in, I go, no, there's no need for these firefighters to come in here. I don't understand. No, they don't see. So through some miscommunication, the other deputy there, she's a good friend of mine. It was a partner of mine in the mountain unit. And through no fault of her own, this all happened, but it got straightened out. Well, I get called from a supervisor at home, dead ass sleep, and they're like, did you tell the firefighters they couldn't come in? And I'm like, no, because I'm thinking, well, I let this guy in to turn the thing off. No, I didn't let him in. Now I'm not thinking the way detectives might think is, well, they got to come in and pronounce the person dead, which, nah. At this time, we had no policy about making EMS pronounce somebody dead or put a time of death when it's an obvious death. I mean, if the bitch's head was cut off, in this case, it was pretty much blown apart, there ain't nothing to pronounce. You're not going to see a time of death. All you're going to do is contaminate the crime scene, which is more important. Now, a few hours ago, nobody even came out. EMS didn't come out when we found the floating Mexican dude out there. So where did all of a sudden this thing come from that they got to come in? Well, in their minds, and I'm not blaming everybody involved here. This is all just a mass ball of bullshit. The detectives have a job to do, and they're thinking, we had to do this, and this didn't happen, Now, they got to write a search warrant no matter what. And I get it. Well, I gave the wrong answer, apparently on the phone, half asleep, and not thinking, nothing happens. Well, I go home, or I should say I go back to work, and what do I see? Another one of these little white envelopes with red on it. This time, it says untruthfulness. Now, that will get you fired. Could even get you charged with crime. But that's a career ender. So I'm panicking. What in the fuck did I do? So, we go through the process, and now I'm like, holy shit, I got to get attorneys, da da da. And I think I'm going to lose my job. And I go down to the IA investigation. It's the same investigator from the last time. And this is important for later. You guys will see where I'm going with this. Like, he's not a little biased. Maybe they should have put another IA guy. So I even say that. Maybe you should bring another IA guy. You know what? I'm a professional investigator. And this guy was actually had a very, very little latent experience. This all comes later, talking about Christy Poor and IA. But the point is, you instantly see the bias, and this guy's pulling out all this stupid paperwork. And I remember one thing, I'm literally laughing in his face. He pulls out a show up on paper. It's got the 6 faces. They've changed the whole laws and everything. And the 5 other guys, they'd asked the firefighter, who denied you? Which guy? It's a show up, and he's supposed to circle the face. Well, the 5 other pictures are Hispanic dudes. Look at me, buddy. I'm straight up white gringo. I had more hair before. Come on, man. And I outweighed these guys, and I was pretty jacked back then. And they take my driver's license photo, which is totally different looking in a booking photo, and my head's even bigger. It's pretty big, but it's not like this. So obviously he's like, that's the guy. But there was no denying I was the guy. Who the fuck else was there? Anyhow, this guy makes this, and I started laughing. What are you laughing? I go, buddy, this one lasted a day in court. Look at this shit. This is so fucking stupid. What are we doing here? You did this, you did this. And I go, man, this didn't happen. So in the end, I said, what about this? Did you ask this person this? And they did. It was a terrible investigation. So what I did was I paid $1,500 of my own pocket, because at this time, and this is how you know you're a legend in law enforcement. You guys agree. A lot of these fucking deputies agree. When you get an SOP named after you, there's a lot of them. I would submit to you that maybe a few other ones that had office pops got an SOP named after them. I got this one. I don't know if it's my first one, but I got this one that made it so IA now had to transcribe every interview based on after this. So I pay my money and I give it to this lawyer, and I'm out of pocket on all this shit, mind you. I'm trying to maintain my job, and the department's like, fuck this, I don't want to work here. But I stayed with it. I got a baby and wife at the time, and a mortgage like everybody else. And I go, and I love being a diver. I love being a cop. I mean, that's what I love. So I have it transcribed, and we go in, and they're recommending termination. They sustain this thing, recommend termination. So we go through, though, and we line by line this thing, and it is so ridiculous. So we go sit down this hearing in our District 3 office, and one of these idiots, he's dead now. I thought he was an ass anyway. I don't mean to speak ill of the dead. This captain, he had forgotten that he was part of this thing earlier and forgot his statements. So he's on this board, which shows you not biased. Now, you got a chance here. You can either try to fight it or not. If you fight it a lot of times, and I can assure you, even Sheriff Chronister knows this, you argue with the punishment, you're probably going to get more punishment. Like, dude, you need to take it and move on. Now, this is termination, so what the hell do I got to lose? So I pay this guy, and I go through this thing line by line, and we basically determined that, well, I told you before, the IA guy was a complete moron, and he basically lied. And he did not conduct some of these interviews, and it was so contradictory, but his statement, his summary, it just left out all this information. So we're going by pointing this out. Middle of this interview, and Major Davis, not Paul Davis, if you say anything else, you're full of shit, because you signed out on this, and I know you're one of the Plant City boys. You stopped that meeting. I got sent out. You sat in there with the lawyers, and then the lawyers come out and they say, JT, you're okay. You're going to be all right. Go ahead and go home. I'm like, what do you mean, go ahead and go home? It's over with. I go, what, am I fired? They're like, no, you're good. But you're going to get a day off for general proficiency. And I go, what the fuck is that? Well, they're saying all this happened, but you should have known as the senior deputy on scene, I wasn't the senior deputy, that EMS had to come in and pronounce the lady dead for a search warrant. I go, what the fuck are you talking about? Her face was fucking blown in. Her arm was, she had fucking shit out of her, hanging out of her. Come on, what do they need to come in? Dude, he goes, dude, just go with it. And I go, obviously, he goes, we know what this was about. This was about some fucking retaliatory bullshit. The major saw through it. They all say, you're good. Take your shit, take your lumps, and go home. Now, this time, though, I get a call a few weeks after, or about a week after that, and they say, you need to turn in your dive gear, no longer on the dive team. I'm like, what the fuck? That wasn't part of this. So they take my shit, and I'm off the dive team. And I sit there for a while. I'm pretty irritated about it. And I finally go, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to go see the chief deputy at the time, was Iceman DeCobo. And that's a pretty scary thing to do with that guy, because you don't know what you're going to get. But I will say there's some things he did that pissed a lot of people off. But then there's some things he did that were pretty fair. Matter of fact, he had some not so nice things to say about me, but he did put me on a lot of these specialty positions all throughout this stuff. Now, he didn't want to promote me, and I don't blame him for that. I didn't want to be promoted. And he said, no, I ain't promoting that guy. It's like, good, best thing ever, didn't happen. Now, he goes down there, and I said, sir, this is what happened. He goes, what are you talking about? I didn't take you off the dive team. What are you talking about? Now, they got a lot of money invested in us in this dive team. Hillsborough County output our dive team still. These guys against anybody. And in my resume, we won international dive champions. This is not diving boards. This is swimming underwater. This is doing some high-speed shit under ships in the port, underwater navigation, dealing with parasitic devices, and especially dealing with bodies. This stuff nobody wants to do. Our swim test was right up there with like military combat swim tests, and the guy's still doing it. God bless him. It's a hard fucking job. Been on that Skyway, seen shit y'all don't want to see. We didn't dive in pretty water. We dove in currents out there, or we dove in mud, and we're pulling arms off people and putting them in bags and picking up skulls. So nobody wanted to do that. So he knows all this shit combined, and he goes, picks up the phone. Who told this fucking guy he's all that? Oh, I thought it was automatic. And it was the same wanker that didn't like me in the district. And funny story later, we go out to pull a dead body, and that guy standing on scene, and the civilian was about to punch him because he was being such a dick. And I was like, God, I hope he punches that fucking major or captain. If anybody ever deserved it, was there, because I was going to stand there and watch and say, buddy, I got no gear. I'm a diver. I'm standing here in a wetsuit. I can't intervene. But he kind of he kind of deserved it. I don't know. It's probably a bad thing to say. And anyway, so I get repinned back on the dive team. Stay on it for years, and I go on and I get put on the I'm on the street crimes unit. I'm on the multi-ethnic gang task force. I get put on this new unit, robbery task force, and we're out there running gun and stopping robberies all over what we call the box, record breaking, stopping robberies. I mean, it was crazy. And then that morphed in. They saw how effective it was. That morphed in what's called the STAR unit, Sheriff's Tactical Area Response. So we could target areas, but we had the ability to work under special investigations and not the district. So we had more leeway in planning and a little more secrecy and kind of picking things, but we would purposely go after these high crime areas. It's proactive, and it was extremely effective. All the people involved, all the way back then up the sheriff and the colonels, were behind it, and we had our cool little pen for that and everything, and it was awesome. You learned a lot. Well, that ended up turning into it kind of got dissolved, and guys went their way. And I worked on that squad with Chris Rule, I think Myra Rivera now, and who's named in this, and just some fabulous deputies that are still there. A couple of those could probably be the sheriff, easily qualified. And then that went into these tactical intelligence teams and started splitting up, and they realized we need to do more of this, more undercover guys being proactive, better trained, the ability to move around. So I didn't want to work drugs or undercover drugs. I was good at more of the surveillance stuff. Well, I actually moved temporarily over to do jail investigations. We just do raw interviews, and we're in the intelligence center building intelligence. And then this amazing major comes along named Tom Feeney. And Major Feeney was a SAC for DEA. He's a legend. Okay, he's good friends with U.S. attorneys. He helped stand up the air marshals, friends with Norm Hooten. You know, the guy's like, what do you do from Black Hawk down. Feeney, absolute amazing guy. Some guys didn't like his style, but I knew he was a cop's cop and been through some hell. Had a very tough family life. His daughter and son-in-law involved in law enforcement. Just a great family, great people. So I guess he saw something in me, because he pulled me and a sergeant friend of mine, and we designed this squad, and we started saying who's good for this, who's good for that. And I was a little surprised because it involved a lot of surveillance and sitting still. And you can see I don't like to sit still a lot, but I knew this was going to be something that mimicked the LAPD's kind of secretive, proactive unit that stopped in-progress crimes. And we were going to go after the recidivists. I mean, the absolute worst of the worst. There's no denying this. I don't care what anybody says. Nobody did the things we did, and we actually did it so well that we didn't shoot nobody during this whole time, but the results of the arrests or just in the cases were unbelievable. And we handpicked some guys to start with, and I think I want to say James Jackson was on that, and sometime it bled over. And I almost want to say, yeah, I'm pretty sure Anthony Collins was on that. And look, I don't think Anthony was right for the job for sheriff. I don't know really what happened. I don't condone what he said. I said some other things now. I kind of backpedal on this, but quite frankly, he was a good cop back then, and I'm not saying he's not a cop now, but he did the job well. He was well invested in it, and it was tough for those guys, especially Anthony, because he kind of looked like Urkel, and he's out there in the box Suitcase City area, and these guys were just all the black dudes on the street. They gave this dude hell. Man, he didn't give up. He did his job. Anyway, he made his way up, and we did this 10 Delta thing for quite a while, and made this just incredible things. This is my pat myself on the back, and I said this in a news interview, and this is why I'm doing all this, because I'm sick of repeating all this shit. This on this 10 Delta squad, we had a serial robbery guy. These guys doing these pizza robbery, real dangerous guys in multiple counties. And I was the case agent on that and ran with it. And I was able, and I had a co-case agent. I'm not going to name him now. He works somewhere else. But in the whole squad, I mean, it was crazy what we had to do for a couple of weeks, missed Thanksgiving or whatever. And using some electronic means, but we had to be tricky on this. And we ended up working eventually with the ATF. And this is why we turned it into a federal case. That being said, I was the main case agent with another guy, became a sergeant. And we still have a record for, I think, the highest number of prison years issued in one case on these guys. It was like 270 years for these serial armed robberies. I mean, these guys were bad news. So it was a proud moment. So that's kind of stuff we did. I'm sitting here, not saying I'm testifying in this court. Oh, and along that way, I forgot to mention, backtrack a little bit, I was appointed to work on a special task force within the U.S. Marshals called Operation Orange Crush. And sworn in as deputy marshal temporarily. Actually got my little hoo-yah back there. You can see, same thing. Record amount of arrests we made collectively through joint effort. Fabulous guys on that still are from HSO. Some of them I don't have the best feelings for now, but they did a good job when they were there. Scott Lay, who was shot during the case in where we lost the officers in St. Pete. I mean, these guys just put it all out there. Roscoe. So got to do that, and that involves a lot of faith in your people, because you are thrown in a hot seat, and the amount of shootings and high risk situation you're in with those guys, have you seen, is insane. So yeah, I was pretty trusted for all that. So along that way, though, you work with these different groups, Joint Terrorism Task Force, ATF, FBI, and you got to have, with the FBI, to get on some of these things, you have to fill this paper and have a clearance. Well, one of those things in that clearance has to do with financials and bankruptcy. So a bunch of supervisors in that division could get that clearance because some of them had a few bankruptcies. Now, those came from probably being divorced and stuff, nothing like mismanagement. Some of them probably mismanage it. And that's important, again, talking about another high-ranking command staff member we'll talk about in a little bit. So I was on that squad, and then here comes my third ding 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 discrediting moment. Made me such an awful cop, and I'm a liar. So we go after this guy, and we picked our missions, and we got a newer corporal who's got a line for sergeant. He's going to be a sergeant, and our sergeant at the time was not on the street. Well, we had this method of kind of trapping these guys. And this guy ran from us multiple times already. He's a fighter, he's a runner every time we dealt with him. So we had this method that we'd use to try to keep him in a car. Believe it or not, the way we boxed them in, especially their passenger, we could dominate the scene of these tactics, avoid shootings, definitely avoid pursuits, and not smash up our cars. Well, this guy decides to get out and go to Walmart. And we were wearing vests when we jumped out of these cars and all our shit. And we tell this girl, go in and get him. We're like, what do you mean go in and get him? He sends us into Walmart. We're like, we're not going into Walmart where all these citizens are. This guy's a violent fugitive. And we're now putting the public in danger. So me being me, as you see, blah, 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 you're a fucking idiot. Pardon my French. Or I didn't say it in his manner. I was like, we don't do that shit. He's on the corporal, blah, blah, blah. So we go in there. Now, I know this guy already. So as soon as he sees me, we walk up. And as we're walking up to him, I'm with my partner that we'll call a Lil Head, as they call him on the street. He had apparently a tiny head. And got beat up by a 15 or like a 11-year-old on a bike one day. He didn't, but it was funny. Either way, we walk up and this guy has got an armful of clothes. We see these two bigger white dudes that don't really fit into that particular Walmart. And the guy sees us, and he sees me, and he's already recognized I'm pulling my badge out, and I grab his arm, and I don't even have a chance to grab him, and he yanks away. He's a slimy little dude, and he's quick. Pretty strong kid, and he turns and runs, and we're like, fuck, we're in the middle of Walmart. So we take about 5 steps, and, I weigh about a good, all that, I was dry there. I was probably with no gear on, and so it's probably about, $190. And full speed. Back then I was in really good shape, running wise and everything. And I'm chasing them, and all of a sudden these two white dudes, we don't know who they are. I guess we thought they just thought something going. The one dude sticks his leg out, and the bad guy goes down. Well, I'm in full speed, so I land on top of him like I'm giving him a hug, like I'm giving some love. No sooner than I do that, here comes this corporal from the other side. He saw what was going down and just blasts me in the cheek with his knee. Not intentionally, not at all. It just boom, boom. And I mean, he knocked me, and y'all have been there. I've been hitting the head a lot. It's all white. I go down to the right, and they make the arrest. And I'm bleeding like a stuck pig, but I'm pissed because I say, again, you stupid motherfucker, look at my face. We weren't supposed to make this arrest in this Walmart, you idiot. So I'm going about it. I'm getting yelled at. And I'm like, all right, I need to shut the hell up. Call the sergeant. He's like, all right, just go to the hospital. I'll go meet you there. I go in there, and I'm bitching the whole time. And I get a face full of stitches. It's all documented. And I'm like, this cheekbone is all been, pretty little scar. Had this cheekbone smashed in very bad. And any of the fighters out there, we know what boxer fractures are in the face. There's no fixing it. And when you got one, it could be severe or not. But you can pretty much put your finger on it. And I go, I got a fucking boxer's fracture, but what the fuck am I going to do? So I take the stitches. He goes, you want to do anything? I was like, no, I got to go home. I got to go home and finish my master's degree paper off duty from my computer at home and submit it that night. Now I got a headache, stitch in my face, and I got a deadline to finish my paper. So I go home and do my shit. Well, lo and behold, here comes Donald Azinski. If you know her, you know her. And she has some kind of, and this is, I don't give a shit this is on paper or not. This is my opinion, but I know it's my opinion. Her and Feeney are like this for some reason. I don't really understand what happened. It's way above my level. I didn't care about shit like that. I just want to do a good job. But she starts scrutinizing our reports, and then she sees the fact that in the report, in this affidavit, it says what happened to my face. Well, A, I didn't write the affidavit. It wasn't done by the suspect. We made that clear. It was done accidentally. It was in the action of law enforcement, but he didn't do that. But on my report, the last line we put in there, I said, this happened, but I still have to note the injury. And they get to do a notice of injury. I said, I had stitches and I had a minor fracture in my cheekbone. And it even says it wasn't caused by a suspect. So I go back, and then we're in a class and we get all called in. And next thing you know, a bunch of us are getting called to IA. I am the target investigation for what? Falsifying a police report. So I was like, what in the hell is going on? I was quickly told what was going on, but had to go with it. So go down there and have to defend my name. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? Why is this lady doing this? What did I do to her? I hadn't done nothing to her. I didn't think I was on her bad side. I didn't know. So I get this all done. I got pictures of me with my face all gashed open. We even went to a party the weekend before, and all these people see my cheeks. I mean, I was ugly. I am. And I was like, what the hell is going on? So next thing you know, again, my back's on the wall. I'm like, I'm going to get fired. After all this time here, doing all this shit, all these squads, I'm going to get fired for this bullshit? What the fuck? So this is where these titles come in of what you're alleged that Chad wanted to present when he attacked my character. And this is why I have to explain myself, because this ain't what happened. It's like a guy being indicted on this huge charge in the civilian world, and it's brought down here. Maybe pled, or maybe actually resolved. And you don't get no intervention program. So guess what? I end up with, after an amazing fight by the powers that be saying this is bullshit, end up a day off for, guess what? A general proficiency, because I'm stupid. Apparently, I didn't follow another policy or didn't write the paperwork right. Even though it was signed off on by this corporal, who subsequently, in this investigation, was found, I don't know what his exact charges were, but he was removed from the squad, suspended, and not allowed to become sergeant. So I'm sure he's not too happy with me, but you know what? I told him so from the beginning. So, needless to say, they take me off of this high-speed squad, and actually couldn't have come at a better time. It was a saving grace. And they put me in the warrants unit, and which is great, because I really love that, going after guys. And I did my thing in warrants, and I was extremely successful. And I took over fugitive extraditions, and that got to do some amazing things. We changed some processes. You know, I'm proud to say I actually was able to change this to a matter of so I could stay more on the street hunting bad guys and not have to physically be in court. So we used some technology, and we used civilian, and we minimized the position. So we saved an average of $180,000 a year, having a non-sworn personnel go in there and having a civil process from the jail. And we also stopped violating people's constitutional rights, which we had been doing unbeknownst. And I actually had to go. This is in 2018 or 2016. I actually had to go. I was shocked, and get a waiver certified, a waiver of extradition, because they're walking in and reading non-English speaking people waivers and ask them to sign this thing. They didn't know what the hell they were signing. So we got it recertified. This is all in the court, all documented down. I had to go on record and shit for them to certify this. And I think it was Buzzy Heinrich did all this stuff with me. And, you know, so we got it recertified. And finally we had a waiver for Spanish speakers. I don't think there's any other ones now for other languages. I don't know at this point. You say I got on there, and then I started doing this thing called cold case fugitives. And the reason was because we had this tremendous backlog of warrants, and they weren't being touched. Well, at the same time, I was looking for a project for my master's degree, and I said, you know what? There's so many problems here. I think I'll use some of this. And they want you to do a project related to your agency if you're law enforcement, and bring it forth and say, how can we fix this? So I was passionate about it, and I did it. And I wrote a hell of a paper. Now, but that was my career. So in that side, and I'll get into all that stuff later, because it's important what I discovered in that warrant section. that directly applies to what is being said about the sheriff and what I'm going to, the allegations, or I should say foundations for what my reason and rationale supported by all this stuff should be to remove chronister, because he is at fault as a supervisor between his processes and a lot of these things, and that caused these things. So I ended up also I was on the mounted patrol unit, which is voluntary, but you get pulled from duty. And I ride horses and have horses, and took my horse Monkey and went to all these schools, and you're on duty at the time, and he's sworn in at the time as a deputy, and it was great. It was a highlight of my career, getting out there in the community with kids and stuff, that and neighborhoods that didn't really like police. It was a good way to interact with them, and we took this team to a whole new place, and we were in parades and just doing all these events, and unfortunately. We worked the high school graduations. Have you ever been there in Hillsborough County? They're pretty crazy. And I was actually asking for backup all day. And again, me being me, maybe my approach wasn't the right way, but what happened, and I anticipated happened, and sure shit it happened. And we ended up with this massive brawl because they sent in two schools that overlap. They're from pretty rough areas. And I'm sitting there looking, I go, those are gang members from this area. I know them, not these guys from here, and they ain't here for graduation. So all hell breaks loose. There's a big ass fight, and deputies aren't responding from inside because they're too busy shoving pizza in their gullets. This was on camera, by the way. It took them 6 minutes to get from inside the fairgrounds to outside the gate. We had this on tape. Meanwhile, I got to take a newer trained member in the mounted unit. There's only two of us on horses for 2,000 people, and we go charging in there, like freaking George Washington with our whistles blowing and spinning, and all hell breaks loose. My horse trying to break up fights. I mean, there's people going through food stands. It was a Donnybrook, as they say, and I'm just waiting for just to hear pow, pow, pow. Just I think it's coming, or a car to drive through. Anyway, we had a picnic table, my horse and I, that you couldn't see in the crowd, and we go down, and he goes down, and he did his best job to protect me, but I go down real hard, and he goes down real hard and hit my head, but I was okay. But that's why I knew right then I broke my thumb, and I knew I fractured my hip, and I'd already had a minor fracture in there. So he gets up, he stands up, he's looking at me, and I can instantly tell he's lame. Now, if you know anything about horses, a horse leg injury is usually one or two things. It's survivable or not. Some people might disagree with me, but it's pretty hard to put a 1,200-pound animal in kind of recovery. So you don't get to have like a surgery and walk a boot. There's some minor stuff, but not when it was. So he can't keep my weight on. So yeah, I'm pissed. So they say we get him back, and all these people are asking about him. But you know who didn't ask about us? That one person called me from my command staff, Sheriff Crown, somebody, and said, you know what? I got deputies out there that got hurt. Not a good job, not a bad job. They didn't even call us to see if we were hurt. And I was pretty disappointed by that, because I was hurt. Now, I wasn't going to tell anybody this time that I was hurt, because I didn't want to go through no bullshit. And I didn't want to get taken off the monitor. So I'm like, I'm going to suck it up. My hands are all jacked up anyway. But I was concerned about my horse, and I own him. And the way Sheriff's Office works is they pay us like $1 a year to lease them. But when they're on duty, and we get a stipend. So we were on duty. So I took him home, and he goes in, and thank God he got put to stall rest. But I jump on another horse of mine that's really not trained, and I went back the next day. And I get calls like, oh, don't talk to the press, they're fine about this. And I'm like, this is bullshit. And I'm, again, my mouth, I get into it with this lieutenant, who I'll mention later. I mentioned these news interviews. Him and I got into this, and I think he handled this all wrong. But I also think now he was definitely a victim of Chad's monarchy. Is proven, and we'll explain that later. But him and I got into it. He goes, I'm taking off the mountain. I was like, I don't want to be on the mountain anymore. And take this shit here, and I'm taking this here. This is mine, like, the old movie The Jerk. I'm taking this, you know who I'm talking about. I'm taking my saddle, and that's all I need. And I go to my car, and I said, you know what? What the hell is going on here? Now, this was on the heels of a very, very, very tragic case that I'm gonna have a tough time talking about, but I'm gonna talk about it, and it's in the letter to the sheriff, and it's an awful thing. So that's why I'm being lighthearted now. But I pretty much sat in my car and said, "What the hell am I doing?" And I said, "I'm out of here, man. I'm putting my 2 weeks in. I'm getting the hell out of here. I got money. I got a business. I don't need this shit. I got skills. I got an education. I got my own. I don't need this garbage. I'm out. I'm out." So I broke my crayons and signed my paper, and I went home. And that's the resignation. No discipline, anything. As a matter of fact, the major at the time, who I also named in here, because of his background, which is just mind blowing, that this is allowed to happen. He had said, "What are you gonna do when you leave? Why are you leaving?" And I go, "I'm gonna go to work for this place called None of Your Fucking Business. They're hiring." And he didn't like that, but I was joking around. He knew I was just busting his balls. But I said, "Nah." I just don't want to deal with this shit. So I put my 2 weeks in and bounce around there doing your bullshit paperwork, trying to stay off the street. I did get called back out on one of the last days and literally didn't want to go out with my corporal and end up on Nebraska Avenue next to this famous hotel where the serial killer, Bernie Rollins, or whoever the hell else that guy was on that. And I have a bloody man that had just jumped in the back of a car and smashed the windows out of these people's car, hacked him with a machete, comes jumping out, running at me, and I'm going, there ain't no way in hell I gotta shoot this guy on the second to last day of work, and I'm gonna have to stay here. And I said, holy crap. And all of a sudden he drops it and gives up, but it was nuts. So I was like, yeah, that's a sign. I'm getting the hell out of here. So I go to get my paperwork and I leave, and that was it. That was the extent of it. And then I went on in the private business, and we blew it up. Did very well. So that's where I'm at today. Now people say, what's motivated you to come back? Well, I think you'll see why. And as my name was trashed over and over during the past election, I challenge these guys, come debate me, come talk to me, whatever you want. This is never about me. It's about the right man for the job, and I've indicated who I think is the right man based on my professional opinion. So I'll let you look at this. This is a real thing. I'm not doing this I don't have a film crew. I don't even know how I'm going to upload this damn thing yet. I'm going to have to figure that out. But I wanted to let the media know, and I wanted to let the taxpayers know, people that know me, that are seeing this and kind of seeing me on TV, other than ones that's saying the camera adds 10 pounds. Thanks, Eddie. This is about the right thing. So I'll let you decide.